Script in front of me. I'd rather have a bottle in front of me right now.
Oh.
And... Careful. What the hell is that? Is that your chair?
I think so. Maybe my arm.
I know you ate a burger.
No, I'm fine. It was not me.
Well, that's not cool.
Inside this room, all of my dreams become realities, and some of my realities become dreams.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here? Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
You are listening to The Wilder Ride, getting wilder by the minute. Here are your hosts, Alan Sanders and Walt Murray.
Welcome back, everyone, to The Wilder Ride, where we are getting wilder by the minute, a podcast where we break down and celebrate the films of Gene Wilder 1 minute at a time. And for our inaugural season, we are celebrating the film Young Frankenstein. I'm Alan Sanders, your host.
And I'm Walt Murray, your co-host.
And two guys that are very used to being host and co-host of their own radio show. We are joined once again by the guys from BK on the Air, Barry King and Mike Clark. Welcome to The Wilder Ride.
Hello, I'm BK on the Air. I'm alcoholic.
Wrong meeting.
Yes, we know. Sorry. But you're a working alcoholic.
Wait, challenge accepted. You want to compare?
Hey, I had trouble saying it. Yeah, I couldn't even say it. What's wrong there? We'll call the addiction
Well, what kind
network.
of an expert are you then if you can't even say it?
I just feel bad that last episode I didn't have any criminal story to tell. What was the bad part?
Well, if you drink a whole lot and then drive home, you might.
Yes.
Okay. You want to try it?
It may not be a great story.
may not make it
We'll have
for
a-
mine.
It would
may
be
not
great
make it
for
back
us to tell.
It would be
back for the
great
rest
for
of the
us.
week.
Mike, how would you like a field promotion?
Hey, that'd be good.
Hey, host of BK in the Air, where we rebrand the show. It is now Commander Clark on the air.
I'll call in every now and then.
Every now and then.
Your one phone call, both locations.
You get
I
3
see.
minutes a month.
I saved enough honey buns I can trade them for phone time. Now, I say that in all honesty. Apparently, that is the currency of choice in the local jail. Honey
Really?
buns.
Oh,
Honey
boy.
buns.
Honey buns.
I always thought it was like
Oh, you
cigarettes
can-
or something.
Yeah, no, you can trade a lot for honey buns. And apparently, you can trade honey buns for honey buns.
I hope I never find out.
Yeah, you know, I don't need scared straight. All I needed to be told was by an overzealous female guard. Oh yeah, nothing like walking in when a couple of guys have been sharing their honey buns. I'm like, we have kids on the field trip. We're done. Time out.
All the more reason to not get in trouble.
Not get in trouble with law enforcement.
Soap necklace.
Well, let's see how well our young Dr. Frankenstein was able to avoid his problems with law enforcement. Because when we start today, we are still having a discussion with Inspector Kemp, who was initially giving a salute. We'll see what's going on with that salute. And we will end with Frankenstein's monster moaning, along with Frau Blucher, who seems intent on letting him go. So let's go ahead and start this minute. When we last left Walt, Inspector Kemp has decided, well, I can go tell the villagers that you are not following in the work of your grandfather, and went to salute.
Yeah, it gives a great salute.
But apparently,
However,
when he went to turn and put his arm back down, it's not cooperating.
Yeah, he had not properly oiled his arm that day.
I mean, what happened? I mean, we just saw him a few minutes ago doing like 75 moves to light a cigarette or cigar and get to the middle of the town hall to create, to talk with the town elders. Just a simple salute, and his arm just ganks up on him.
Do you think putting the darts in it and cheating might have caused the
That
arm
might
to
have caused a malfunction.
Because he
Oh,
sticks
that-
them in there, and it might have damaged the joint there at the elbow. Possibly.
That's good.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
That's good. Of course, it's a wooden arm named Smith, so
Well,
what's the name of his other arm? No. I mean, it is
John?
a wooden arm, though. That's what they call it in the script, but it doesn't sound wooden. It always sounds like mechanical.
Yeah,
like
it's very mechanical.
Like
as
there's
hell.
kind of gears in there
rivets or gears or something.
Yeah.
I tried
Right.
to find out what that sound was, what they use, and I could not.
I just called it, when we first discussed it, it reminded me of my Micronauts. Just the sound of the magnets clicking together when you were trying to pose and move
right.
things.
Well,
You know,
he
maybe
talks.
that's what it was.
He talks to it.
Yeah, he does.
And he gets mad.
Well,
Yeah,
I think
he
maybe the
talks to
gears jammed. That's what
it. Right.
froze it.
That's what I think it
Something
is. That's
slipped.
Gear
something.
jamming. Yeah.
Gear jamming.
So
That's
are we
right.
going back to he didn't oil the elbow?
May not have, or he may have,
Right.
busted the oil pipe when he shoved the
What I love is he turns his back to Gene Wilder as if he won't see me trying to fix my own arm. Yes. And just the body mechanics of the actor, of Kenneth Mars, to be able to, his arm is frozen. When he tries to push it down, his whole body goes down instead, as if it's like locked in place.
Classic.
It's awesome. He is totally into this moment. He's like under his breath, talking to his arm in some German, which, by the way, when we get to a little deeper in this minute, our German counterpart, Malte Dirks from Germany, is going to weigh in on what he thinks he's muttering under his breath as he's getting ready to leave the scene. And we'll also weigh in on what Frau Blucher is going to talk about later. But let's
We're going to hear from Malte Dirks.
Malte Dirks. Malte.
And listen, when he leaves and you look at Frederick, say goodbye to him when he walks out of frame, he's either mocking him or saying bye to him with his arm.
Well, no, I like
what he does.
And I have written in my notes. I love.
What is he doing?
Yeah, I love his, as I called it, half salute.
Yeah, right. It's like, is he making fun of him or is he being sincere and waving by? I don't know.
No, I think he's making fun of him.
He's doing the whole 2-finger salute like the Boy Scout, almost like, so long, sucker. So long, sucker.
Yep, you fell for it.
He's making fun of him. He's making fun of him, but the inspector doesn't know that.
No, he doesn't know that.
Well, no, Spectre's like already now he's in that weird position. His arm is not working, so like, I've got to get out of here. Save face.
Well, then he's trying to hide it still.
How's he hiding it? He's got to go talk to it more.
Now, I don't know that it's necessarily a disrespectful salute, because if you watch what he does just after he kind of like matches the salute as he walks out, he's got that sort of like head bob sway, like, oh, thank God I got away with it.
Yes.
Because like, he even looks up to the head, he's like, oh, geez, thank you. Mm-hmm. So I think it's not necessarily a slap at the inspector. I think he's just like, okay, I'll wave and do whatever I think I'm supposed to do to keep him happy so he can get out of here.
Get out of here.
And he even goes up to the window, like you see him come forward in frame. It's almost like he's approaching a window, the same window that now has, a lot of ventilation.
Yes.
To see if the inspector actually does leave.
And as he's driving away, I'd like to hear the further conversation he's having with the arm, which probably includes a lot more expletives in the car as he drives off.
He's definitely muttering,
really giving it what for as they drive off.
He's definitely muttering into his own arm, like, "You don't do this to me in public. I'm going to get you." In fact, is it still stuck when his driver actually salutes to him?
I think it is.
It's
as
all
he comes
the way
out.
into the
Yes,
vehicle.
it's still stuck to the side of his
driver
head.
just thinks he's saluting back.
Yes. So he's like, yeah.
Well, that's what I thought he was doing at first, because of the original angle where it gets stuck. I'm like, wait, is he doing a Heil thing? I'm like, oh, no, it's a salute. Okay.
It's just stuck up to the brim of his hat. He's just like, and he gets into that car so fast, like, get me out of here. Just get me the hell out of here. Wait a minute. It sounds like a line that we're going to hear later. Well, there is obviously a very funny sight gag, but I have also realized we're going to run into two camps on this sight gag, because I found two camps on the internet. We've got the camp that is mad of the number of darts sticking in the car of the inspector.
I found that
versus the number of darts that they were playing with. Mike, let's recap. You said game of darts is normally 3. They were playing with 5.
Only 2 of them, as far as we know, went out the window that we saw. So the one camp says, well, there are only 5 and only 2, so why are there 9? But then another camp says, well, we don't know how long they've been playing, so maybe this is a lot of darts that we didn't see.
That could be true.
Which I don't know, because the conversation seems to flow, there isn't a long pause where all of a sudden, I want to talk to you about the monster now.
Right. I get the sense that, well, first of all, I fall in the camp of, it's just damn funny.
Well, that's what I say. It's just funny.
The fact that there's a total of 9 darts outside. There's 3 in the front tire, 3 in the rear tire, 2 apparently in the spare tire, and 1 in the side of the driver's helmet.
Yes.
That's my favorite one.
And he's totally unreacted by it.
Yeah, he's oblivious.
Oblivious.
It makes you wonder, did it actually pierce anything or not? Because it's still stuck in the helmet.
He's just a very dutiful driver.
Yes. Well, he said, stay here and don't go anywhere.
You do what you're ordered to do.
Everyone knows that there are darts out there on the car, what we're talking about. You noticed all the carvings that are around in the movie, the gargoyles, the heads and the faces. There's a mural on the back wall outside in this scene. If you look at it above the car hood, and I don't know why, but to me, it looks like some of them are guarding their parts from being hit by darts. I don't know why.
And it
But
could
if you
be.
look at them, they're in this position where I'm covering this
missed
part,
that.
now I'm covering this, now I'm covering this. I don't want to get hit by a dart. But check it out.
You
When
do.
look
You've
at the
got like
scene.
these four
It's a
demonic-looking
weird- yeah.
creatures. One's got his hands over his rucksuckle, like he doesn't want to get kicked anywhere. You've got one who's sort of like his leg up, like sideways, like, oh no.
Here it comes.
Another one's got his hands by his side, almost like splayed, like here it comes. The other one
Yep.
looks like he's listening to the other
I
guy.
think they're afraid they're going to get hit by a dart. by a dart that's obviously being loaded into a magazine
Yeah, no kidding.
and not single shot. So, yeah, I just thought
Either
was
that, I'm
interesting.
just, or could it be? Hold on. You've got the one where he's got his hands strategically placed, and it looks like he's got a grip on Major Tom over there, and the other guys are all kind of like looking at him and laughing. And so, is it because maybe it's cold outside and they're giving him grief about not having a whole lot to grab?
Well, that or
Right.
it goes
Or
back
he-
to the
or he-
conversation the couple had earlier.
Right, or he already got hit.
Day and night, night and day, but every day.
Well, knowing Mel Brooks, they were covering up to block from darts.
I don't know.
Who knows? It's
I
just-
could certainly read a lot
it's
into those
really
four
interesting.
carved things.
I don't know.
A stretch would be like a take on the hear no evil,
Gargoyles.
see no evil.
Yeah, but they're
have
not
no
covering
fun.
their face. You got like
There's
the
more
one
than
guy,
three of 'em.
the one in the middle in the back looks like he's got his hands up to his head like he's crying, he's laughing. So I was like, look at how little your little wingy is.
Look how little your little arms it is.
And the other guy is like, he's like putting his leg back. He's like, whoa, put that away, dude. We're outside in mixed company. And the other one's just kind of sitting back going, no, you guys, you stay there and block him. I don't want him coming by me.
Well, I have to say, it is
I
one
always
of the,
dive into that particular cart when it comes to anything like that. I'm just like, juvenile brain, age 16, and go.
Well, it's one of the
We're like-
oddest statues you'll ever see.
I think he's playing, what did we call it? What was the episode with the Mad Max group?
Oh, yeah.
We were tossing the petulant dwarf.
Wow. Haven't heard that episode yet. So I don't know.
Yeah, we can thank
Not up that
Rick
far
and
yet.
Julia for that one.
Yes.
Rick specifically, tossing the petulant dwarf.
Oh, brace yourself, winter is coming.
So I did read where someone said, well, they did have 5 darts and they were each taking turns. Did they play with the same 5 or did they each have 5 of their own? I think it's the same 5.
I do too. Yeah, because of course that's why he walks to the board to get them.
Right.
And so it would have to be the
Because
same 5.
I read somewhere where someone goes, well, there's 10 darts. You've got 9 here and the one that hit the cat. I'm like, but what about the one that went behind and knocked over, Aunt Mettie's, china cabinet?
Who knows?
But much like the stethoscope debate that we had a few minutes
No, that
before
was
now,
legit.
it could be just for fun. It
could be a
There's a bunch
gag.
of darts out there.
I was going
It
to say,
could be
they
a
just
gag,
said,
yeah.
hey, go shove some darts into the tires.
Right.
These are the same people that would the coyote would never survive that fall.
On
That's why he
Warner
comes back
Brothers,
in the
that's
next
right.
episode.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's got 500 twins. He's a clone.
And hey, speaking of the car, wonder what kind of car that is that the darts are thrown into.
We
That would
still
be
don't
kinda
know.
Cool, wouldn't it? Would to know that?
Volkswagen Rabbit.
So here's the crazy
So
thing.
you go.
Here's the
You
crazy
go.
thing with the whole car discussion.
The car that they drive off in.
Well, what I first did,
Well, at least we agree it's a car and not a cart or a wagon.
Right.
This is true.
I learned that.
Yeah.
I was
know.
able to be schooled on that one.
But your illustrious host, Alan Sanders of the Wilder Ride, and yours truly have come up with 2 different cars that could be.
Well, the first thing I did, and here's what throws me on this one, because I looked at the license plate as it moves out of frame, I freeze framed it, and it's TR286945. And it's on 2 rows, but I figured, well, TR, Barry, you and I both thought the same, that it stands for Transylvania.
Right.
286945. I looked up if there was any reference to that. Is that a joke? Is that like Lucas's THX 1138 somewhere? It's not. But when I typed in that number, it brought me to a French website called Movie Cars, and it was about cars in movies. And when I pulled the file, it had a picture from Young Frankenstein, and from my notes, it called it a 1933 Stutz DV32 from the American company Stutz Automotive. But then you found something that looked exactly like this car, and it was not a Stutz.
Right. I called the guy that worked on the film. His name's John Johnson, who provided the car for the film, and I spoke with him at length on the phone. No, I didn't.
That senile
Just look
old
it up.
coot.
Yeah. He said, I don't remember what damn car I used for that
It
movie.
was via
It's just a movie, guys. It's just
it was
a
through
movie.
osmosis that I contacted him. No, I looked up several places as well. I found two websites that I can't remember what they were. One was Sotheby's auction site, and also the IMDb technical site that also says that the car is a 1927 Rolls-Royce Phantom 1. And it clicked in my head because we all have seen Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where they actually use a Rolls-Royce Phantom 2 4.3 liter 30 horsepower film that the movie that the Sultan uses in the film.
Or once.
Yeah. So,
he doesn't want all the jewels of Germany, of all the richest families, but he likes the car, even likes the color.
That's where I'm like, where have I heard the name of that similar name to that car before? Oh, it was in Indiana Jones. So that's what I found out. So we've got two different camps on what car this actually is. Now, we've looked up images of the car that you found and the car that I've found, and even looking at the images, both cars look similar. So I don't know what the...
Very similar design, very similar
what to
make.
do here.
They both came in convertibles. They both came in four-door convertible options. Mine, the last one I looked up, they sold at Sotheby's. If it is a 1933 Stutz DV32, which I have no idea now, sold for $1.5 million.
Wow.
Well, we don't know for a fact which one it is because the images you pulled up, BK, looked so similar to the images I picked up. Two different car companies, completely separate makes and models, and looked nearly identical to untrained aficionados of ancient or these kind of very old cars. So let's put this on the website. Let's put this on our Facebook page.
You've asked the listeners on Facebook, on the Wilder Ride listener group, to answer questions before, right? So why don't we all look in our pockets, see how much change we can come up with, and see how much money we've got, and if anybody gets it right, we'll give them whatever we got.
Yeah, whatever we got in our pocket.
So let's give them the two possible outcomes. It's either what I pulled up was a 1933 Stutz DV32 or
a 1927 Rolls-Royce Phantom 1.
I like the Rolls-Royce. I think you're probably
they're
right.
both very cool looking older
I think they
cars.
built the car.
I don't think they would have done that.
I think they used remember the song by Johnny Cash, One Piece at a Time, where his dad worked at the car lot.
Oh yeah,
he was stealing one piece of the car every year it came out, and he built it. Together all these different pieces.
This has always bothered me. Did that inspire the MASH episode
With Radar?
With Radar stealing
yeah.
it, or did Radar inspire the song?
Who knows?
The song came before I think the song came before the show.
Song came before the show.
So,
okay, yeah, because
you say that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure.
But then you say I think so.
I'm almost
I know
sure.
what happens to me when I say I think so.
I'm more sure about that than I am these two cars.
Okay, we'll go with that.
When did the song come out? Do you remember the year or the decade?
I think the song came out in the 60s, so it was well before MASH.
So MASH would have been 70s.
Right, so if it's wrong, I'll go to Folsom Prison like Johnny Cash did, and I'll do a
I remember
concert.
that. We never found out if he was able to send the entire Jeep home, because I always wonder how he's going to get the main body to go. I mean, I can see the steering wheel, a wheel.
And you make a good point, because this car in the film, it might be an algorithm of two cars. They may have put this thing together and used parts of some old car on the set of where did they film this? Was it Warner Brothers?
This is 20th Century
Fox. It may have been on 20th Century Fox lot or something like that. So we don't know.
Maybe they just borrowed the car from Bonnie and Clyde.
Right? That's true. Recycled. Yeah. How did they get a hold of a European car?
Well, if you notice the clock in the background, and this we can chat about this, whether we all know as we've done film, I will tell you the worst thing you can ever do is have a clock in your scene.
Yes.
Even in a stage play.
Because someone's got to keep track of that.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Take after take. If you have an hour-long delay and someone doesn't reset the clock, it's going to jump around. It's going to be all over the place. It's not going to be consistent when you put the film together.
Well, we wondered why they did that in Star Trek 6, because there's a clock under the view screen.
The Undiscovered Country, there's two different clocks on the bridge of the Enterprise, and they're running while the movie's on.
And I'm like,
that had to be an editor's continuity nightmare.
That was not the only problem with that movie. I actually watched that movie over the weekend. There are some problems.
Which one was this? Number 6?
Undiscovered Country.
Oh, okay.
6 is not horrible.
It's not horrible.
It's not 5.
Yeah, 5.
All right, well, you've just lost your guess.
I did. 5 is horrible. That's all.
It's not horrible.
It's the worst.
It's not in the darkness either.
No, that's true.
Easy.
Let's Let's do that. Let's rank the
he's
classic Star Trek films.
The extras
1
in
through 6.
the darkness were great.
There's
1 through
guy-
6.
There's one guy in this room that was in a Star Trek film
That is
right
true.
now that doesn't even like the one he's in.
Was
We know
in it.
that.
I won't say I didn't
We know
like
that.
it.
You like the experience.
I didn't
The
say
experience
he-
was great.
I didn't say he didn't like the
Hashtag
experience.
J.J. Abrams, please come on our show.
Hashtag JJ, we love you. We'll say whatever it takes to get you here.
Hashtag
Right.
better
I know you're tagging Mel Brooks and all the things on the
Well, I am
Twitter
tagging
page,
Mel
so
Brooks,
it's
which may
great,
explain why he has yet to return any phone calls.
And why I keep getting those papers delivered to my house.
He's like,
It says
"Oh,
restraining something.
You guys don't like Dracula Dead and loving it. Well, you guys can screw off. How about that?
That was my greatest work.
No, okay. Well, yeah, we open this can of worms. Let's do that. If we have to rank all 6 of the classic classic cast
this
movies
has nothing
1
to
through
do.
6, which is the least favorite of 1 through 6? Because you guys are not saying 5, which for me 5 is the least favorite. That's not to say it's like Thor Ragnarok, or not Thor Ragnarok. It's like Thor Dark World. It's not a bad movie, but of the MCU, I'd put it at the bottom of the list.
Right.
You got to rank your Star Trek movies. Which one is at the bottom? 1 through 6, which is number 6.
Oh, the classic 6, the first
Yes,
6 films.
first 6.
you mean,
First 6.
with
The
Kirk.
first with the
Okay.
regular
With the regular
cast
cast,
of the original television show.
And I know that mine isn't the same as yours. Mine is motion picture.
That's your worst?
That's,
I do
Here's the first
not.
one.
that is
Yep,
that is my worst as well.
I
Your
do not
worst.
like the motion
Yeah.
picture.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm the
I
same
liked
way.
it better than I liked 5. It has grown on me like 2001: A Space Odyssey did. I felt like that was sort of like them trying to do a Kubrick style movie, very intellectual, very smart, and
Oh,
I
no,
love
I
it,
kn-
but very slow.
Well, it's very
Well, it
Star
was,
Trek.
and it's very Star Trek. It's the most Star Trek of all of them, actually. But if you know what, and I always say, if they were in the red uniforms from Wrath of Khan, I probably would like it better. I wish there
With
was
him, it's
That's
all
what it
about
was.
the
color
clothes.
It was
in
the
this.
uniforms.
It's
all
all
about the
clothes.
clothes.
I mean,
It's
better
muted.
clothes. It's all that tans and grays.
Very muted. Everything
Yeah.
looks bleh.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like the space pajamas.
So you think 1 is the worst of the
Yes.
classic 6?
Okay, let me ask this: if they,
But we're all in agreement about which is the best. We all know what is
Oh,
the
yeah.
best of the original 6.
yeah, Wrath
Two.
of Khan.
Wrath of Khan, without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Right, why don't we just end it there on an agreement?
Okay, let's
That
just
would be great.
okay. Let's do that and get back
Because
to our
we will
movie.
never get through the other.
Then we'd have to get in
What
what Mel
were we-
Brooks movies are favorite.
No, but see, now I can tag all the Star Trek fans, and they can go around and get all like really angry at this
I
episode.
know, exactly. That'd be funny.
I'm just trying to like rile up the nostalgic geekiness
You're gonna have to go
team.
through and edit that out.
When we last left these guys, the clock, we started talking about clocks, and that's where Star Trek 6 came up. But when we last left the Doctor, it's 10:30 on the grandfather clock. That's when the inspector showed up. We talked about it last week that they were playing darts at 10:30, which
And
made
that-
sense.
and that clock's
It was
running.
after
Yes,
eating
yes.
dinner. They ran downstairs. They were dealing with the monster. They played the charade. They sedated the monster. And then the door, here comes Inspector Kemp knocking on the door. 10:30 seems right. Once Inspector Kemp has driven away and we cut down into the secret lab where Igor has dutifully put the body back underneath the security bands, we see Frau Blucher sneak into the room, and there's a clock on the wall, and it says 1 a.m.
And 40 seconds with the second hand, and it's not moving.
Yeah,
The second hand won't move.
Second hand is sitting there. Yeah.
So we really don't know what time it is.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
So we know that clock is right twice a day.
Yes.
Right.
Right?
Well, that's what I was going to say. We don't know if it is AM or PM because it could just be a stopped clock that's in the lab.
And it is just a few minutes
And,
later.
and does anybody really know what time it is?
No.
Well, the grandfather
care?
clock, the grandfather clock was actually moving. The pendulum was in full action, so
Right.
it looked like it was working.
So if the clock down in the lab isn't working, it could only be maybe just 15,
but
20
would we
minutes
have
later. We don't
noticed
know.
that, or are we supposed to now assume? Because to put that's prominent in the shot. It's
It
not
is,
like it's
yeah.
way off, half
Right.
on, half off the screen. Are we supposed to feel like young Frankenstein is upstairs still knocking back brandy after his experience with Inspector Kemp, and it's been 2.5, 3 hours since the inspector left?
I think he could be.
Well, that
I
or
think he could be.
did that how long the dart game lasted? From 10:30 to
Well, it's 10:30 when the inspector leaves.
Oh, it would leave.
Here's
so
what I
that's
think
right.
happens. I think the editors were editing and they were like, we told Larry 14 times to take that clock off the wall, and he forgot to do it, and there's nothing we can do about it now.
Yep.
We hope that nobody goes through this minute by minute and ever notices.
In the future, we hope there's nothing like the internet.
Well, here's what I think happened, and the reason
Dang,
why
Al
the
Gore.
seconds don't work, and you only notice it if you're really paying attention
Yes.
minute by minute. I'm sure someone got sick and damn tired of that grandfather clock in the previous scene, and they said, just take the damn battery and leave it right where it is so it's always going to say 1 a.m., because I have to believe they wanted it at 1 a.m.
Right,
I
yeah,
get
probably.
having the seconds not work, so
yeah,
that way it
or
always
unless
is working.
it's a wind up one way or the other. Or
Well, yeah, but at some
plug-in,
point-
whatever, it's not working.
Right, keeping
they
it
turned
stuck
off,
at 1
yeah.
o'clock. But
Yeah.
why set it so much later, 2.5 hours after Inspector Kemp was there?
Well, maybe he needed to get his buzz gone because he'd been binge drinking. He was sweating, so he went upstairs to shower
Because
and
he's
come
got a
back
lot
down.
of-
He did have to
he's
clean
got-
up a lot of china.
Exactly, and all that glass was on the
Has a
floor.
lot on his mind.
Track a cat that was wounded.
Where the cat went, put up a tarp in front of the broken glass window now.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it is Transylvania. The weather, we've seen it. The fog rolls
crazy.
in. It's not, you don't want all that moisture
Lightning on
getting
command.
inside. Yeah, like
Well, and the
indoor
good-
and outdoor lightning.
Yes.
Yeah, the good thing now, and I'm sure Mel Brooks is breathing a big sigh of relief, is that people under 30 can't read analog clocks.
That's true.
I found
So-
that out this week.
Yeah,
I saw
right.
that
So,
story.
yeah, so now it's irrelevant. People are like, what's that weird thing on the wall?
What is that back there, man? I don't care. Give me my Tide Pod.
I don't know.
I don't care what that is.
Give me my Tide
I
Pod.
don't care what that is. In the background.
All right.
I improve language.
That's funny.
Well, we'll get to when the doctor shows up, because we know what he last looked like. He won't show up in this minute, but we'll have to pay attention to this moving forward. But let's finish here with Frau Blucher. It's been a while since we've had Frau Blucher on the scene. The last we had, she was offering Ovaltine to the doctor. We haven't seen her since.
Right.
So she is sneaking into the lab, and it looks like she's sneaking in through some kind of a secret passage. She's not coming down from the stairway.
Right.
'Cause they're treacherous.
Right. Brilliantly played by Cloris Leachman. Now, let me ask this. You guys have had the minutes. I'm pretty caught up on the show at this point, but you may have talked about this already. She refers to, when she's talking to the monster, and what's the name she calls the monster that we're going to, it's about time that we get into that because she's about to say it.
Yes.
The German name that she says.
Well, she's supposed to say
Is-
my Susukop, but she says my Nishigukuba or something.
Something like that.
My Nijujuka.
My cuckoo bear.
Right.
Because there's a N, she puts a N in there for some reason, Jujucup. And I was like, is this like my buttercup? In fact, the first time I heard it, I kind of like just went past it. And then I was like, wait a minute, we're doing this a minute at a time. I should probably pay attention to what she's saying.
Right.
I was like, my Nijujucup, what the hell is
Because
she
you don't
saying?
want to throw it off as gibberish. It might not be gibberish, which it isn't.
No. Well,
Yeah.
and then I went to the script, and I looked at the script, and the script says that she calls him my Susukop.
Yeah.
Kompf. Well, it's no M in it. It's Kopf.
Yeah,
Now, that may
Kompf.
be a typo
Oh, no, that's right.
because,
Which is German for head.
right.
I got
so
that part and the mine.
My Susa is sweet. My sweet head.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet head.
How nice.
Term of endearment.
Or deer head.
Now,
Dear head. I'm going to hang you on the wall.
I don't think she's saying it properly based on even just the spelling.
Right. Well, no, what's funny is I had to look it up on the DVD with the captions on, and that's how I got the spelling and then went to Google Translate, and that's where I got my sweet head or my sweetheart head or my dear head.
My dear head.
No, DEAR.
Right.
No, man, this is in southern
Yeah, it ain't
Transylvania.
like
It's
this.
deer
Exactly.
head.
We've seen some of the girls we've gone out with in the past. That's for sure, yeah. Oh, boy.
Well,
So-
I kind of did the same thing with that line that I did with Inspector Kemp when he was yelling at his arm. I kind of was trying to listen. At first, I thought he called his arm a dunk-off, which, is a dummy or whatever. And then I just realized that it was
Thank
something else.
Hogan's Heroes for teaching us
Yes,
that. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yes.
That's where I learned all my
Yeah,
German.
Exactly.
And
Well, that or GI Combat comic books.
got nibble.
German.
Mean goat.
All right. Well, since we're trying to figure out what was he muttering under his breath when he left, and we're trying to figure out what the heck she truly means or what she's trying to say, why don't we all dial into our favorite buddy out in Germany, Malte Dirks, who can tell us exactly what it should be or how it's supposed to be or if it's perfect, and maybe some other terms of endearment that might be more commonly used in Germany. Hey, Malte, why don't you take it away and give us a breakdown? What's happening in this scene?
Yep. it's Maltedex again, live from Germany, the official German translator and friend of the Wilder Ride. Here's my analysis of the German things happening in this minute number 62. First, we see Inspector Kemp giving a very Prussian goodbye to the doctor. So Prussian, his arm actually rusts and lets him down. Then he mumbles something which I can't quite make out in its entirety, but it sure sounds a lot like diese verdammte Arroganz and something, which means this damn arrogance. He could also be saying this damn arm. Oh my god, something like that. But it's quite inaudible. But it sure is pretty good German. Later on we see Frau Blucher talking to the monster. She gives the monster a name. She calls it Mein süßer Kopf in a very bad German, both in terms of pronunciation as well as vocabulary. It translates to my sweet head, but this isn't a thing at all. What she's trying to say, I guess, is something like sweetheart or darling. So here's a number of things you might actually say in German. Mein Liebster, mein Süßer, mein Schnucki, mein Häschen, mein Mäuschen, Liebling, Schatz, which is my precious, or Honigkuchenpferd, which is kinda new but pretty silly. Anyway, that's it from Germany. Nothing more to add for this minute. This has been your German Counter-Strike counterpart to the Wilder Ride. Back to you, Alan, Barry, and Mike from BK on the Air.
Okay, so there you go.
There you go.
So we start off with Inspector Kemp either thinking he's just arrogant, or he's like, my damn arm. It's one of those things under his breath.
Yeah.
Didn't get the chance to say auf Wiedersehen.
Bitte, baby. But here, apparently, as good of an actress as Cloris Leachman can't handle the German language so well.
Not say that really well, according to most.
Not even close. But it's supposed to be some approximation of sweet head, which he says really doesn't make a whole lot of sense in Germany. Why would she say that? Why would they write this?
Sweethead makes sense in the backseat of your car in high school.
I was like,
But that's the only time I can think of.
For an entirely different German.
Right,
film.
exactly. Come over here, Heidi. Yeah, help me with my knapsack. Help me with my knapsack.
Wasn't that movie that some of these guys ran where Linda Lovelace for president?
That's right. This could have
Maybe
taken
that's
a
where that
very
line
weird
comes
turn.
from.
Yeah. They had the wrong script in front of them.
Lovelace.
Yes, there's a
right,
movie,
yeah, that's
Linda
right.
Lovelace
Yeah.
for president.
Wow,
And some of the
I
actors
missed that
from
one.
this
Yeah,
were
two actors from this movie
Gives
at
me one
least.
to look up when I get
Yeah,
home.
me too.
Yeah, apparently when we had Paul Sullivan from Sully Baseball, he was looking at me and goes, oh, look, it's on Netflix. He goes, I think I found my next podcast.
Oh,
wow.
I minute on that.
I didn't know they
garbage.
played those movies on Netflix.
All right,
Wow.
so we know that she did it wrong. We know there's a whole lot of other terms of endearment. Malta, thank you very much.
Well, it's
I wanna
funny,
go
Malta,
back-
every time we have Malta on, he's like, yeah, they didn't do a good job.
Yeah, that is a good job with it. Oh, he did say that Kenneth Mars was doing a pretty good job.
Yeah,
What he
yes,
was
he did.
muttering, it got so guttural because it just under his breath.
He's going to call us sometime with an English perspective on English here on something I can tell and ask us a question about the English language, I'll bet.
Oh, probably.
Walt,
Me.
I want to go back to minutes 31, 32, 33, when we were first exploring, trying to find the secret laboratory. And remember, in one of those minutes, we said we realized that the music had stopped when they first discovered the cobweb lab. And we saw just in the very, very bottom corner of the frame, the 3-candle candelabra that Frau Blucher last was seen carrying. And we saw it lit and down in the lab. I had never noticed it before. And we asked, where did she come from? Where did she go? Because we thought either she had a key to those barred doors in that one, the private library. Now I think we know. There is a secret door in the back of the lab that she was able to get in and out of the bottom of the lab. And that's how she was able to get down there with the violin.
And that's how the violin was still warm when they found it.
Is this this can't be the dumbwaiter, though?
I don't think it's a dumb
because
waiter. I think
Igor
it's
wasn't in here.
Yeah, I think this is another secret passage.
It's definitely some kind of a door we haven't noticed before, because every angle that we have ever had of this table, it's from the other side.
Mhm.
You know, it's from either the foot looking this way. So it's this area of the room where the stairs are above. We don't know where this is. It's the first time I think we've seen that angle. So she knows how to get in and out of that lab.
Well, Frau Blucher, she also, in this scene, before she comes to the monster, to the gurney that he's lying on here, she is talking to Victor in the other world, in the heavens. She's talking to him and said, we've done it.
Yes.
Okay, we know that she had a relationship with Victor and was close to him, and we'll find out exactly what she was to him later.
Yes.
But I'm thinking that, and you guys may have explored it on another minute that I even forgot about. I think that Blucher has orchestrated the entire events of this movie. I think she's behind everything.
Oh, I
she
agree
is to
with you.
fulfill
started
Victor's
the-
dream.
Right. She started everything rolling. She knew if she could get in contact with Frederick, that she's like, oh, he's a Frankenstein. If I get that planted in his head and start the ball rolling with this and do this again, it can happen again. And I think this is actually another part of it because she's speaking to Victor in the netherworld, which is interesting. And I think that kind of cements it, don't you?
Yeah, and she says, we've done it.
She must have had a hand in the first
She must have.
few creations.
This is where I love now going back and remembering what we talked about. I don't know that she had a hand in getting the doctor because if you remember the scene that was taken out, the will was being read and it turned out it was just by a series of, just a fortunate thing for the Dr. Frankenstein and for Beaufort. He didn't want to leave. He didn't want to leave it to any of his relatives. He'd rather leave it to this American overseas. But once she recognized him, once he was there, she got the idea. And remember how we kept saying, why does she keep staring at him? Why was she staying in his room? What was the point of lying about the private library? And I posited she did it, and he knew she was lying, but she did it to try to pique his interest, to make him want to find that library, because he still at that point had zero desire to follow in his grandfather's footsteps.
Well, I wonder if they ever do a young Young Frankenstein, if we won't see Frau Blucher in his earlier days pushing him towards being a doctor. So orchestrating that even in his younger days.
She's the one who
He
led
fights
Frederick to
crime.
Victor's work. She believed, she obviously believed in
once
the
he's
genius
there-
of the Frankenstein family, too.
Yeah, once he's there, and once she recognized and we see how similar he looks to the painting of his grandfather in his grandfather's bedroom.
This is true.
So she's got something where she feels. I don't think she's got, quote, the hots necessarily, that we wondered whether or not she had any kind of, or was it more familial? I think she feels like Victor has come back almost embodied in his grandson.
Right. She loves Victor so much that she wants to continue his work this way through him.
Right, and that's what she loves right now.
From the grave, right.
She's not looking to Gene Wilder's character for anything other than continue the work, so we can
Right.
say we did it.
Because that's all that's left of Victor now,
Right.
is the work.
Is the work.
Now, another point come up that we were talking about today. If they did have a relationship,
Well, that's another minute. You want to save it?
is it now?
No, it's not now.
That's the next minute. Okay.
Yeah,
No, it's hard when there's one
I know.
scene that all goes
But see,
together.
you pulled me back, and that's good because
Uh-huh.
that leads into something else.
It
about
does
her
start with a line
relationship.
that was not in the script. She never says anything in the script about Victor, we did it. In fact, when she says Victor, I can't help but think of the way Anton Yelchin, who has since passed away through a bad accident, when he was trying to tell the bridge in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek, he was trying to say, Victor, because she kept putting the W's instead of the V's.
Much like Chekhov in Star Trek 4 saying Wessels instead of
Wessels.
Wessels. Yeah, that's right.
So this was perfect. I just thought, I heard that in my head when she was like, Victor, we have done it. But she added that. Now, I will tell you, lines that were left out, and this is, I think, another example of lines that were okay on the cutting room floor. She's supposed to come out and initially say, what have they done to you? What have they done to you? That's all over now. I'm going to set you free. The monster opens its eyes. Yes, my Susukov. Free. Would you like that? The monster nods yes. Frau Blucher, of course you would. Which she does say here. She doesn't say, I'm sorry.
She asks if he wants out.
She says it in reverse, though. Would you like that, my Susukov? It's reversed from the script to where she delivers it. Then she says, they just want to hurt you, but I'm going to help you. And then as she starts to undo the straps, yells, selfish pigs. First sign of trouble, and they panic. What do they know? Bucharest wasn't built in a day. And then continues to unwrap, and that's where we end this minute. So all those lines were taken out or rearranged. I like the brevity of the way it cuts in the film release rather than the script.
They changed the original screenplay quite a bit from the final product, and every one of it was a good change in my opinion. Because every time I hear the comparison, that's fine. I hear the groundwork that they were starting, but what they fine tuned it into is, number one, it became less talky.
Yes.
And a lot more letting the comedy play out, I think, and use it with less dialogue, which I think was the the right move.
Oh,
and
I
that's what
believe
they
that.
did.
I do too.
Yep.
I also love the expression on the monster's face when she starts talking. He's almost like afraid of her. Like, what is this
I would
crazy
be-
woman
I would
about
be
to
too,
do?
with that mole?
You know?
She's like, what is this woman coming to?
Mole.
Well, before we wrap up this minute, because we've pretty much gotten to where we're going to end with her, basically caressing and thinking my sweet head. we're gonna help you here.
My
A
sweet
couple
head.
of facts about Frau Blucher. I know I mentioned this before, Cloris Leachman, but it's worth repeating here since we haven't seen her in a while. She actually designed her own makeup. She was allowed. Mel Brooks allowed her. She went to the makeup artist and said, "I want to look like this." And they actually questioned, "Are you sure you want the wart? Are you sure you want this sort of stark, kind of unattractive?" And she's like, "Yes, this is how I feel Frau Blucher should be played." And they let her do it. But I didn't know this. Leachman was 1946's Miss Chicago and a runner-up in the Miss America pageant.
Really?
Yes,
She's a
Cloris-
good-looking
I knew
Cloris
she was
Leachman
really good looking.
was
Yeah,
not
I
an
had no
unattractive
idea
lady.
She was into
No.
the pageant circuit when
Yeah.
she was in the 40s. This is just
Yeah.
right after World War II.
Yep.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
She
Some
said-
older pictures of her. She's quite the looker.
Yeah,
Look at older pictures of you.
Well, I know.
Mel
of
Brooks
it.
said, "Every time Cloris works, she's good. She is never bad. Cloris never plays comedy for comedy. She plays from her heart." And then goes on to say Mel Brooks would later take Leachman into Fugly Town 2 more times, once as High Anxiety's Nurse Diesel
Yes.
and
Great
Madame
part.
Defarge in History of the World.
Yep.
Nurse Diesel.
Which another character in a Mel Brooks film who has a very hard accent, which is hard to understand what she's saying, a French accent. So.
Oh, it's awesome. So that's the notes I had for this minute that I wanted to make sure I got to. We obviously have a lot more to go, but Walt, let me go to you first. Anything that you have in yours that we need to continue to talk about in minute 62?
I was just going to mention when she first comes out of that door, she has such a great look of kind of surprise, satisfaction, but you really do see on her face the excitement over the fact that the culmination of all of her life's work through Victor and Victor's work through her is coming to fruition. It's like she can't believe it, but she's so excited that it's happening. And you really see her talent. And we keep talking about this. The talent of the actors in this movie is unbelievable. But you really do see her so many times.
Oh, she's not playing a comic role. We find what she's doing may be funny,
Yeah.
but she's all in. And she's
She
so
is.
into it, we like it.
Well, and she never goes too far.
No.
Where it becomes
No.
caricature
Well,
or too
Next minute might be interesting.
Well,
to discuss.
yeah.
Yeah.
We
But
keep
it fits
talking
the
about
character.
next minute.
Let's,
we do, don't
let's
we?
hold that thought, but I do think there's a purpose behind it. Walt, one thing I wanted to point out, when you freeze the frame where we talked about the clock, we talked about her backing in through this secret door. If you look to the very far right side of frame, that's the library. That's the outer door edge of the library. And if you remember when we were looking from the other reverse angle, the table that you can't see because the creature's blocking it, that's where the candelabra was set. So remember my thought when she
Interesting.
heard them coming, put the candle down and found some other way to get out through the lab, but didn't
Yep.
go through the stairs?
That's
how
her
she
escape.
got out.
Yep, you got it.
BK, anything you've got that we haven't discussed?
Oh, I know we'll probably, and we're probably coming back for the next episode, I think. Won't we? Come back for
Possibly.
the next one. We're
Do
talking
you have
about,
more you want to discuss?
No, I'm talking about Cloris Leachman. She
I mean,
actually
in
has
this
another. Yeah, she has
week.
another scene coming up. Yeah.
Okay,
She has
we
another
can hold
scene
you
coming
over.
up. But if you can hold us over, we'll talk about Cloris Leachman more and her career. And what I wanted to say one more time is, or for the first time, I may have said it off the air, that I would throw her in with the same group as Carol Burnett and maybe Lucille Ball as being a female comedic genius, because she had her own show called Phyllis, which we'll get into maybe in the next episode, which was a spinoff from Mary Tyler Moore. Everybody that you said everyone that they chose in this movie was a good actor or actress, a good performer, and they all come from. Well, she's done some movies, but Cloris Leachman was mostly a television actress for a long time, so they were all talented. So yeah, Cloris Leachman is funny.
And didn't she play in one episode of Wonder Woman?
She played in the pilot. She played in the pilot episode of
yes.
Wonder Woman. Yes,
Hippolyta. Queen
Hippolyta.
Hippolyta.
one. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
There you
and
go.
then Carolyn Jones.
I
took
wanted to
over.
bring that in for you guys for your
She
show,
did. Yep, she did.
which is a nice
Mostly
bridge
did.
because you might have heard a fun fact like that and a lot of other fun facts on your guys' radio show.
You might have. Come in,
BK,
baby.
tell us a little bit about BK on the air.
Yeah, you tell them when they're on. I do it every show. You tell them this time. Where can
Well, it
they
is
hear
your
us?
show, you know.
Well, You can tell.
Well, you
And
can
he
hear us.
rules with an iron fist
I
like
know he
Thanos
does.
in the Gauntlet.
Okay, I'll tell you. I'll tell you.
I rule more like Luke Cage, not Iron Fist. Don't call me a whiny wiener like Iron Fist.
Please
Don't do that.
Call the police.
Well, you like to talk? Tell them.
No, I like to talk.
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
No. You can hear us every Saturday on WBHF from 10 till noon Eastern time. We talk about everything that's fun about movies, sci-fi, geek talk, old stuff, new stuff, conventions, you name it, we do it. You can also listen on TuneIn, which is obviously free because you keep stressing that. And then if you happen to miss the show, we put it up on SoundCloud and you can listen to it at your leisure.
That's right. You can hear the Wilder Ride on TuneIn and hear us on TuneIn.
We also on Facebook. There's a BK on the Air page. If you want to
And
join
y'all
that.
recently added a segment that I'm really enjoying. The guys from Star Wars.
Channel Star Wars. Yes.
Channel Star Wars. They are
anything
awesome.
Star Wars.
Yeah, they really
Their
are.
reports
And-
crack me up every week.
Every now and then, there's a couple of other guys in the room here that'll come on the air with us too at the same time that we like having on the air. So
Talk about The Walking Dead.
Yeah,
It's fun.
That's
Like, you explain it great every week. You say there's plenty of stuff for news talk, plenty of stuff for sports talk, business talk, fitness talk. Very little retro, nostalgic, geeky talk. The things that we grew up in comic books now being made into hit movies. The music, the stuff that we all grew up with. And I always find it interesting when listeners call and say, you triggered a memory that I didn't know I had in the back of my head, but I was like, I did the same thing you guys are talking about. And I love when we get callers like that at the station.
And if there's an anniversary happens to come up like a Mel Brooks anniversary or something about Gene Wilder, they fall into that category. We'll even talk about that from time to time.
Well, very quick, where do people go to find out a little bit more about us, or if they want to engage with us, if we did something wrong on an episode here? I mean, obviously they know how to listen because they just listened to the show. Right. But if they want to now go and tell us everything we did wrong, where can they go?
Have you done something wrong before?
No.
Yes.
You have. Okay.
On the rare occasion that
we found that our interpretation of Elizabeth on the platform did not match with a couple of other
Yes.
people's interpretation of Elizabeth.
But they made very cogent and nice points.
Yes, and apparently one time we mixed up great-grandfather and grandfather, even though we knew better, but sometimes you get talking faster than your brain, which is not hard for our brains here.
I was going to say, I know exactly who they were talking about, and
yeah, I tried to edit as best I could.
it was me.
Well, wait, sometimes
my brain was either lagging behind my mouth or my mouth was lagging behind my brain.
Well, wait till
and-
they tell you that car was a Chrysler.
Yeah, right.
We're both wrong.
That Vegas station wagon.
Dodge Dart. What the heck are you talking about?
Gremlin.
But the best place to find us for those kind of conversations is facebook.com/The Wilder Ride. We also have the Wilder Ride listeners group, which is a private group. Just answer a couple questions and we'll let you in. And we just want to make sure you're not a bot or the IRS or anything. And gives you a good opportunity to engage with other folks. BK posts a lot in there with some great trivia and stuff that I didn't know. And so it's a fun place to come and gives us the opportunity to get some feedback from y'all. And I'll tell you, just like this conversation today, there have been a couple things that I've gone, I haven't really thought about that, but I thought we had exhausted that minute. But boy, somebody comes up with something that is a really great point. So
I learned that you were all lawbreakers before the last couple episodes. I didn't know about that. That's shocking.
Well, the statute has run.
Right,
Yes.
I'm good. I did my time. I
good.
seated the lawn, and I'm good.
I
And I will
consulted
say this.
with our attorney before the show.
There are
Alan did his time in the back of the car for 10 minutes. That was his time.
That was different. There are a lot of places to go out there and
One out
listen.
of 12. One out of
But I'm going to end on this note. If you are an iTunes listener or a subscriber to our show, help us out. They change the metrics moving into this 2018 year, depending when you're stumbling on the podcast. Give us a rating, but leave a comment. That's what actually gives it more weight. And that way, if people are searching for podcasts about Gene Wilder or about Young Frankenstein, they may actually get this show flagged as a one to tune into and listen. So please leave us a comment. And who knows, if it's a nice one, we might even, cut and paste it and put it in our Facebook listeners group. With that said, we're going to move into tomorrow. If you guys want to come back for Wednesday, Hump Day, we've got minute 63, where we will continue starting the scene with Frankenstein's creature's smiling face, and it will end with Frau Blucher yelling, "I know what he likes." I'm going to be interested to find out what that is. French fries, cookies, maybe some, black cherry for Black Forest cake. We'll have to find out. But you got to come back tomorrow for the Wilder Ride.
Black Forest cake.
I do love Black Forest
Maybe
cake.
it's a 1927 Rolls-Royce Phantom 1.
Maybe he knew what that was in German.
It's a Volkswagen.
Rolls-Royce Phantom 1.
That
because I was looking for, again, the novelization of Young Frankenstein, because I kind of want it now that I got the Blazing Saddles one. There is, I think, a more recent book about the making of Young Frankenstein.
Came out 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's a coffee table book with a lot of behind the scenes. Mel Brooks put out 2 years ago,
I wonder
kind
if
of in
it's-
conjunction with the musical.
You didn't get
Okay.
it. You didn't get it, did you?
Not yet.
Certainly
Yeah,
hope
I
they
mean,
tell
I
in it what
was-
car.
I
that
was
is.
saying, I
Why
wonder
would
if
I have bought a book about everything I would need to know before doing a podcast about everything I'm supposed to know?
I know. I was thinking, wonder if they tell about the car is in that.
They don't.